Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Welcome to Global One Media's exclusive one-on-one interviews with company executives sharing insights into their unique journey. This is a platform to help our viewers make informed investment decisions. I'm your host, Ashley Berry, and today, Allan Frame, President and CEO of Beyond Minerals, is with us. The growth stage exploration company is focused on the exploration and development of mineral properties and the acquisition of mineral property assets in Canada. Beyond Minerals is listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange as BY and the OTCQB as BYDMF. Allan, welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you, Ashley. Thank you for having me on your show.
Always a pleasure. Now, for our viewers who are not familiar with Beyond Minerals, maybe you could share a bit about the company, its unique advantage, and your current projects.
Sure, you bet. Firstly, Beyond Minerals has been a public entity for about a year. When I was in the brokerage industry with Haywood Industries a year ago, I actually did the IPO for them. So that made me familiar with the company, not with these current assets at the time, but with the company and the people. So, it was a pretty appealing company for several reasons. Firstly, Victor Cantore, who's very well known in mining circles in Canada, was one of the founders, and that's always an attraction. Their board of directors is very strong with lots of experience, including capital markets experience. One of the other founders, Alain Lambert, has many years, over 30 years of capital markets and fundraising experience as well. And myself, I spent 47 years in the industry raising capital for resource companies. So, I have a good financial background as well. So I think we're pretty tuned into how to raise capital for companies. Secondly, the structure of the company is fairly unique, which is something that I always try to achieve when I do IPOs, and I'm no longer doing that. But this company is one of them. Fully diluted, there's only about 28 million shares out right now, and most importantly, insiders and founders and directors and officers own almost half of that. So the real float on this company at this stage is only about 8 million shares. And lastly, the third ingredient, which is always very important, is, what are you going to do now that you're all dressed up and ready to go? So what we have decided on doing a year later is to focus on lithium assets of the hard rock type in Canada. And if you're looking for those in Canada, you want to go to probably Quebec and Ontario in areas of the shield where pegmatites are fairly predominant. And that's what we've done. Our focus has been narrowed down more recently to Ontario, simply because Quebec has lots of very good targets, of course, but the prices, to acquire ground there have risen fairly dramatically, almost fivefold in the last year. I see the same thing happening in Ontario, but at this stage of the game, we've been able to acquire a couple of projects for a pretty reasonable cost. So that's sort of the essence of the company, the 35,000 foot view today.
Fantastic. I like when you say you're all dressed up and ready to go. Well, now what are you going to do? It sounds like there's a lot happening. So you recently acquired new mining claims to extend your lithium pack project. What makes that in particular so attractive?
Well, a pack, which is about 180 kilometers north of Red Lake, is an area where there's been a lot of exploration already. And the properties that we've picked up, we have about 5,500 hectares. They're in our mind, they're very prospective geologically. And part of that validation in our minds comes from the fact that Midex and Frontier have had some pretty good successes there. Frontier alone, on their actual pack, they've got about 9.3 million tons of over 2% lithium, which is pretty impressive. And then the Spark has 14.4 of about 1.4%. So not only does it have good geology, good address, and the neighbors they're making it pay, so we think it's a really good area to get involved in, and we're very fortunate to be able to pick up those claims.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the financial position of the company. What does it look like today, and what do you expect to look like in the near future, given all these updates?
Sure, you bet. So today we've got around $900,000 in cash. And that cash we're using obviously to pick up these properties, but once we have a land mass in our company that's significant enough to create a good exploration program. Not that these ones we have already aren't, but we'd like to acquire more land as well. The next thing we'll have to do then is do some budgeting for ground truthing and exploration and hopefully drilling as well in this upcoming season. So we will have the need to raise more capital. But fortunately, thanks to the national government, their 30% tax credit for critical minerals, we would go the flow through route. I don't know how much that will be at this stage of the game, but over the course of the next 30 to 60 days, we'll be looking at that, looking at exploration budgets and then figuring out. But we're good for hard dollars right now, enough to accomplish our initial goals, which is at present land acquisition.
Great. And, Allan, you have decades of experience. You're a veteran in this space. What was it about Beyond Minerals that really attracted you to join this company?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, the structure really appealed to me, and the fact that management is so committed. Some of their earlier stage financing, they just wrote their own checks. And that's always a pretty big issue for me to see. People are just going for the free ride. They're probably not as committed as you'd like them to be. So that's number one. And they took a year to decide which space in the minerals industry to get involved in. So for me, I'm kind of a natural resource guy. So I like oil, I like gold, I like copper, and I like lithium. So this was the fourth the box for me to tick because I'm pretty heavily involved in the other three already. So I thought it was exciting and encouraging. And I think the future for lithium is really good, regardless of whether the prices are high or low at present. We're not a producer anyway, so not too concerned about that. But I do think in order to create a cleaner, greener world, there will be a lot of lithium required over and above supplies that are presently available. So I think it's a really good metal to become involved in, and it does the world a lot of good at the same time while you're out there, doing the exploring and hopefully adding to the lithium stockpile. So those are the main reasons.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Of course, clean and green, absolutely paramount this day and age. Any other updates or catalysts that investors might want to hear about?
Well, I think, I look forward to the rest of 2023. Number one, I'm hopeful that we'll be acquiring some additional projects, lithium prospective projects in Ontario. We'll see how that turns out, but I'm optimistic we'll be successful. So once that's done, then we'll get to work and put together our geological plan and what we're going to do for exploration for 2023, which will be combined with some type of a flow-through financing. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And lastly, and certainly, not the least, I hope that we have some exploration success because great real value for any minerals exploration company, it ultimately has to come through the drill bit. So I'm hopeful we'll be lining up enough prospective properties that we'll be fortunate enough to turn up commercial quantities of lithium. So we're going to give it our very best shot. We're going to be very, very careful and stingy on how many shares we issue here to try to keep the capital count really low. We'd like to have a company, that's sort of lean and mean with good projects and lots of torque if we're successful in the field. So those are the things that we look forward to.
Terrific. Ultimately has to come through the drill bit. I really like that. Allan Frame, President and CEO of Beyond Minerals. As always, thank you for your time, for sharing these exciting updates. And we, of course, look forward to sharing more with our audience.
Thank you very much, Ashley. It's a privilege to speak with you, and thank you very much for the invite again.